You're listening to the Heroed Out podcast. To find out how to hear the latest episode or to connect with us, please visit heroedout.com. Consumer discretion is advised.
Fuck this up.
Fuck you up.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Heroed Out podcast. I'm Nick. Across from me is Kyle, and we want to do something special for you guys today. We want to bring in some super serious topic. We want to talk about some shit that we've seen on the internet that's kind of really infuriating and kind of aggravating the both of us, and trying to paint a picture as to why we have the problem with law enforcement we have. So unfortunately, both these incidents are narrowed to one agency, and I think we can find one person behind part of the problem. And what is it? Heavy lies the crown. So Sheriff Marco Lopez, this one's kind of on you, man. We got some stuff we want to talk to you about, my friend.
Yeah, unfortunately, both of these incidents happened in the same county, in Osceola County, which, for those who don't know, it's by Disney, Orange County. The first of which was a shooting at Target. And, we had talked about this on either episode 0 or episode 1, where you let if you don't control the narrative or whatever, the media is going to do it for you. And that's exactly what happened in this case.
Absolutely, 100% it did. So before we get too far into this, Kyle, go ahead and roll the video.
More calls for justice and change after Osceola County deputies shot 20-year-old Jaden Baez outside that Target last month following an alleged shoplifting incident. Today, the Black Lives Matter Restoration Polk Incorporated organization held a press conference here outside the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. They said they wanted to show support for the Baez family after speaking with them, and they're calling on the Department of Justice to investigate this case. They told me there are still many questions when it comes to transparency and accountability, especially when it comes to a lack of body camera video from the incident and how an alleged shoplifting incident led to gunfire.
These officers chose to behave in violence over pizza and Pokemon cards. Now there's a family grieving because a 20-year-old is dead. There's a 19-year-old in a hospital.
I also spoke today with the Orange Osceola State Attorney Monique Worrell, who said that she can't discuss this case right now specifically.
The Osceola County Sheriff has not said what prompted his deputies to shoot, and as News 6's Mark Lehman reports, he was reluctant to take our questions today.
Since last week, Sheriff Marco Lopez has refused to release details about what led to the deputy-involved shooting. I pressed him on the issue this morning, but the sheriff is still not providing the public with answers. Why did deputies feel the need to use deadly force?
Let's do this. I'll make one little statement.
Sheriff Marco Lopez reluctant to take our questions about why deputies opened fire on 4 men after a shoplifting incident last week. The shooting killing 1 and injuring 2 others. Lopez promising transparency but providing few details about what happened.
I turn it over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement so they can do their investigation. Once that investigation is concluded, then we'll talk about it. We'll have all the facts, and we'll go forward from there. Okay.
Other agencies
that's all I'm stating today.
Other agencies have released this information before. Why not your agency?
Like I said, I just explained it. What part of that don't you get?
When pressed further, the sheriff said this.
Because this is how we do it. This is how we do our investigations. It's the right thing to do by turning it over to a separate entity. Let them do their job, and as soon as it comes out, whatever the outcome is, then we come out and we start talking about it. People have to respect that. We're not another department. We're Osceola County Sheriff's Office. Totally different. Okay.
We ask the questions. They should provide the answers.
Attorney Mark Nejane calling out Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez for what he said was a cover-up operation, concealing information about what led to a deputy killing a 20-year-old and injuring 2 others after a theft of pizza and Pokemon cards from a Target in late April.
All of these were filed on the same day at the same time. Where are the original reports? These are 11 days old.
For weeks, the department stayed silent on all but the most basic details.
This is video released by the Osceola County Sheriff's Office Monday. The video comes from a Target surveillance video camera. It has no audio. According to a deputy report of the incident, 18-year-old Michael Gomez and 19-year-old Joseph Lowe were seen on store surveillance cameras concealing store merchandise and leaving the store without paying for any of the items. When the 2 suspects got into a black Audi being driven by Jaden Baez, deputies tried to block them in and prevent them from fleeing in unmarked patrol vehicles. A 4th passenger was in the car, but is not being named because they are a minor.
Detectives exited their vehicles and stood toward the front of the suspect car while wearing vests with the word sheriff written in all 4-inch tall lettering and verbally shouted the word "Stop, Sheriff's Office, stop."
But Lopez said the driver of the vehicle, Jaden Baez, did not. As you see in the video, he tries to break through the box in, and according to Lopez, damages 4 station vehicles, a couple of which had deputies inside them. It is not clear in the video when a deputy fired at Baez or which one, but Lopez said Baez was armed.
It is also important to note in terms of potential charges that Mr. Baez was removed from the vehicle, a gold firearm with an extended magazine dropped from his person.
Attorney Mark Nejame, who is representing the Baez family and those 2 other teens, released a statement earlier stating there was no evidence to suggest that the firearm found was brandished, pointed at deputies, or fired in any way. Sheriff Lopez continues to not answer questions as to why his deputies fired at Baez.
But that's how we do it here. We do things a little bit different here in Osceola County.
So as you can see from that video, I think anybody with any type of law enforcement experience would tell you that, hey, this looked like a justified shooting, right? You got these guys going into this car. They get boxed in. You see at least one deputy vehicle with lights on. They all get out, clearly a marked vest on. And that wasn't what was said originally.
No,
right?
no. But let's back up a little bit. So a little bit of the backstory in the video, if you guys don't know the story real well. So Osceola Sheriff's is doing some training in the area. And as with any training, a lot of the time, sometimes you're in uniform, sometimes you're not. And I'm guessing these people in this unit are most likely either not in uniform all the time. They're Class Bs with their brass and their badge and stuff showing maybe they work an undercover unit. I'm not sure, but they were training in the area and this call came out of some people shoplifting. So loss prevention inside the target was keeping track of, and they watched for him to come out. And when they come out, they got into the car, and that's when they went to box him in. And you can kind of watch the video from there. So some of the criticisms, first off, that I read was, well, how come they didn't try to apprehend him when they first come out of the store? Okay, so let's start with that. First off, you have 4 people. Do you want to be chasing 4 people on foot through a parking lot with moving vehicles? Or do you want to keep them isolated? In addition to that, when you're chasing somebody through an open area, what coverage do you have? What concealment and coverage do you have if this turns into a lethal encounter where you have to engage a suspect? Now, if you're also engaging this suspect on foot, running through a Target parking lot in broad fucking daylight, where are your rounds going? I mean, you can, even if you shoot somebody and you hit them, doesn't mean it's going to stay within that person. So there's so many fucking problems with this. But I mean, I think, unfortunately, this is a terrible incident where somebody lost their life. But what led up to this and the outcome were dictated by the suspect's actions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think tactics aside, obviously, I agree with you, containing the suspects to at least limit the liability to others in the parking lot, other employees, other patrons, that kind of thing. Absolutely. But that aside, it was the policy of the narrative, man. Like, the attorney came out for this guy, and literally for 2 weeks in the media, it was, these kids were shot unarmed for stealing Pokemon cards and pizza. It's like, are you serious?
Dude, that's what I fucking told you the first episode or 2 where we were recording. You got to get out in front of this. You have to release the video. You got to put out a statement. If you do that complete hands-off approach, it makes it look like they did something wrong. These people did absolutely nothing wrong. They did their job, and they were put in a terrible situation. And if you break down this video, you actually watch it, you can actually see when the shots are fired the first time. They were on scene for I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds in contact, and all of a sudden you see everybody flinch. I'm going to have to assume that's when the gunfire started. So the fact that Sheriff Lopez did not get out in front of this and not just release the video, I'm going to put out a statement about the actions of the individual's suspects and his deputies on the front end, it made it look terrible. You had 10 days of somebody else pushing the narrative. And the fact that we allow these attorneys to go out and blatantly lie is disgusting. I swear to God, man. I don't know if they believe in the afterlife, but these people, they're going to rot in hell for the fucking way they lie for their clients. It's terrible.
This one in particular, like they came out and said they did nothing wrong except for steal. Well, yeah, that's easy to say when you don't have all the other evidence and you're saying that there's no cameras. Little did you know later that the cameras come out and you look like an asshole.
Well, no idea that he was carrying a gun. When one of the kids, they drug him out of the car, he had a gun on him. So what happened? Was that part of it? I don't know, but you let somebody for 10 days. So whoever sits on his C-suite, they should all be fucking fired. They should be let go. If you're going to let me make this mistake, and not just this one, but the one we're going to talk about next, if you're going to let me as the figurehead of this agency and you have these people surrounding you that are trying to guide you and best lead this agency, that's the advice you get is say nothing? Say fucking nothing?
Yeah. Hello, Ferguson. Do we not remember this? I mean, this is exactly what happened there. And this is what allowed, thank God this community didn't go into an uproar, but it could have easily done that. Like, that narrative is damning. And if there's nothing to refute that, and all you're saying is go talk to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, they're the ones investigating it. Hello, that's like sweeping shit under the rug. Like, that makes anybody look guilty.
Not only that, they always say, well, they weren't wearing body cams. They weren't wearing body cams. Why not jump on there and say, my guys were training. They were not wearing body cams, which is standard practice either for the unit they're in or the type of training they were in where we don't have them. They were not wearing them. That's not as if they were doing something. So my question is, for all of the people that are up there in the uproar bitching about this, what would you have done different if you have somebody trying to run you over? Let's take the cop out of this. Let's get rid of the whole cop section. Let's get back to human and human. If you pull a gun on me and I pull mine out and fucking shoot you, Mexican standoff style, that's what happened. Somebody protected the life of someone else. That car is a deadly fucking weapon. That car is a 3, 4, 5, 6, 10,000 pound weapon.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, their intent may have not been to, hurt the other people, but they did. As you saw, they jostled the other deputy in there. But good God, if they would have got out and gone through the parking lot, you see in the video that there's a couple walking right next to them. Like, they run over anybody, and now they're like in fear, whatever, and fight or flight kicks in. It's a dangerous time for a lot of people.
Right. And I don't know if the gentleman who died as a result was the driver or another, but I knew there was 2 people shot in this incident. So my thing is, regardless, that driver, if he's the one who survived and the passengers killed, he should be facing murder charges because Absolutely. It was his actions. The fact that he stole Pokemon cards, pizza, yes, that's not right. It's against the law. However, when you try to run somebody over,
different realm.
It's a different fucking story. And shame on Sheriff Lopez for not grabbing this, standing up behind, because how many people were there? What do you think, 15, 20 detectives? It looked like
very quickly.
Very quickly.
It added up quick.
And how many of them are going, fuck, man. Like, it would have been nice to have somebody stand up beside you and say, listen, I hired this guy. I trained this guy. I retrained this guy. Everything about this guy from the moment he was hired in law enforcement is a reflection of this agency. I know what he did, and he did what he had to do to protect himself and go to his family. But he didn't.
No. So for everybody else that wasn't in the shooting there, like, what kind of doubt does that cast on them for the future?
What if you're in the fucking hiring process or you're looking to go? Yeah. Is this where you want to go? You have Wayne Ivey, a couple counties over, is like, hey, fuck, evil can't be dead enough. We need to kill fucking people. Let's kill them. Like, if that's what needs to be done and, we need to do that to them, let's do it. And I got your back. You put bad guys in jail. Then you got this guy on the other side of the county. Oh, I don't know, man. I'm just going to just let FDLE look into it.
Literally hands off. Literally. Throws his hands up in an interview in one of the media things I said and said, you can contact the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They're handling it. Like, way to have a backbone, bud.
Yeah, and I think the problem with this guy specifically is he didn't have any administrative experience. For you guys listening out there, he was a deputy, got promoted to sergeant. While he was a sergeant running for sheriff, he made some posts criticizing the department, which was against the department's policy, and they demoted him. They demoted him back to a deputy, and he appealed the decision, went through a review board, and the review board said, hey, you know what? You're not going to take the 40 hours, but you're going to take the demotion. What you did was wrong. And subsequently, there was other events that transpired. He ended up being fired as a result of his actions and ran for sheriff. And not for nothing, voters in Osceola, you guys got to be smarter than this. You got to educate yourself. Just like Orange County. What was the guy's name running for sheriff?
Damn, I wish I could remember, but he was a convicted felon, and I think he got like 20 or 24% of the overall vote when he was running against Sheriff Mina. And this is a convicted felon we're talking about.
And not for nothing, John Mina is a cop. He was an Orlando PD. He rose up, SWAT guy, went up to the chief of Orlando PD, ran for county. He was a cop. And then you have this guy who is a convicted felon who cannot possess a firearm, who's going to lead an agency. People out there, voters, you have to be smarter. You have to educate yourself. You have to look at the bigger picture, or else you're going to end up with people put in places they don't have the experience for. And you, to the people, when you don't have experience, you surround yourself with people that make you feel comfortable, which is this sheriff's problem. The problem is he has people letting him make stupid fucking decisions, because nothing he did in this incident was smart. I commend everybody there for doing what they had to do. At least tactically, from looking at it, they looked like they were using, concealment cover. They went and got a shield. They approached the car. They were rendering first aid as soon as possible. But as far as administratively in handling the aftermath, the fallout, if you will, it's fucking terrible decision making.
I'd contend that that's the most important part. Like, especially for, those road guys, like I said before, I can go handle myself and, I can conduct it. But the shit that's not in my control is stuff like this that makes people worried, that makes people, fearful from getting in or whatever. It's like, you can't have that, man. Like, you can't go to work with that doubt in your head.
No, you have to be able to stand up for what is right. And you're put in that position. Politicians, and that's what an elected official is. He's a sheriff. He's a sworn law enforcement, but he's also a politician. They don't like delivering bad news. It's like, it's almost like, they want to divert the negativity and they always got the smiling face and, hey, look, John and Susie.
That's the guys in the back behind him smiling is actually what
donated $1,000 for us or whatever fucking project or whatever. That's a shit. But you know what? Sometimes you go out there and say, hey, you know what? We fucked up. We're going to own it, and this is what we're going to do to fix it. But we don't do that. In this instance, it's either go, oh, I'm not going to look at it. We're going to let somebody else deal with it.
Yeah, in this instance, they didn't do anything except for failure to report and, be that, I hate to say the word transparent, but like this was a very justified shooting. Like there's nothing questionable about this in my mind at all.
No, but think about all those officers on scene. If they're put in that situation again, is that doubt going to be in their mind, and is it going to cost them?
Yeah, especially those people there. But I mean, everybody that works now under that administration, I can only imagine. I don't know the guy personally, but I can only imagine, based on his history and getting canned from there and everything else, and now becoming the top dog, that there's probably some fear going through that department for like some type of retribution or something anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but fuck you if that's where you're at.
Well, yeah, for sure.
What I mean?
But I mean, like even a road guy, like shit, like I might have talked bad to that guy, or not even talked bad to that guy, but I might have been in favor with the other sheriff, and then now with this guy coming in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but true leadership is not about that. It should be about actually taking your assignment and doing.
Disagree.
Yeah, it should be. I've told you before. There's a difference between a supervisor and a leader.
This is it.
This is a guy who's a supervisor.
Yeah.
He got appointed as a supervisor by the citizens of Osceola County. Leadership skills lacking severely. Severe leadership skills. And what I mean by leaders, you don't have to be a supervisor to be a leader. You can be a leader by your actions, by the way you demonstrate, the things you do when people are not looking. And when people are looking, and these are the decisions you're making a fantastic fucking supervisor. Terrible leadership decisions.
Yeah, most of the guys that I knew or that we knew coming up, most of the leaders weren't supervisors, because they didn't have anything to prove. They just had their, their reputation and their daily things to do, go on. Two of the most, influential leaders for me, they were both slick sleeve deputies.
Yeah, me as well. There's one I can still think of to this day. Whenever Adam showed up on a call, you're like, oh, fucking thank God.
Keeping it real.
Yeah, fuck yeah. He was a person. He was a lifelong deputy, K-9 handler. But when Adam showed up, if shit needed to get done, it was going to get done. He was somebody you relied on. He was a leader by his actions. He would stand up for you if you did something wrong, and he would also tell you you're a fucking moron if you did something wrong. Or did something right, he'd stand up for you. He had no problem doing that. He wasn't there to kiss the admin's ass. He wouldn't do nothing. But he's the same guy who literally, I don't say knew everything, but he had been around forever as a patrol capacity, and he was still great at 25 years later. He is a leader without actually getting that designation as a supervisor.
Yeah, I think for him, most importantly, not just with the guys on the ground, but the guys in admin too look to him like that. So if he's involved with something with a group of people, it might be looked at with a different lens than if two rookies were involved. You know what I mean? So I think that plays a major important part. But yeah, I mean, with this incident, this is just bad policy. The next one that we're going to talk about is really just disheartening.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and we'll get off of this one here, and I want you to go ahead and let's go ahead and play that next one. You guys take a listen, or for you guys on YouTube, go ahead and take a watch in this one, and we'll back with you in just a minute, and we'll give you a little more insight into what the fuck is wrong with law enforcement these days.
Right now at 6, dramatic body camera video shows the moment an Osceola County deputy tackled a motorcyclist at a gas pump right before the deputy fired off his taser. Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! Now we're learning new details about what happened during this fiery incident. That suspect was burned over 75% of his body. Now he and the deputy who fired the taser are both facing charges. Good evening, I'm Greg Wormuth.
And I'm Martha Sagowski. Channel 9 investigative reporter Shannon Butler first got this video late this afternoon after months of asking for more details in this case. She's joining us live right now in the studio with this breaking update. Shannon, this is certainly video that is hard to watch.
Martha, it really is the takedown and the explosion. Well, that takes less than a minute, but the aftermath takes what seems like forever as a deputy and a suspect catch fire, both badly burned tonight. Both of those men are facing charges and one is still fighting for his life. Intense body-worn camera video shows the moments that Deputy David Crawford shows up at the Wawa gas station on February 27th to apprehend Gian Barreto. You can watch as that explosion happens, burning Crawford's legs as he rolls on the ground trying to put the fire out. It began here when Deputy Chris Covinas tried to stop Barreto when the sheriff says Barreto was running traffic lights and popping wheelies with a group of motorcycles that were riding down the Osceola County roads.
Did anybody try to stop that motorcycle? 10-4, I tried stopping it. He took off. He's not stopping. He's just playing games.
It was about 20 minutes later when Covinas showed up to that gas station. It is hard to see exactly what Barreto was doing during that takedown, but you can see clearly what happens next.
Hey, kill the pump, there's gas, kill the pump. Yeah, give me your hands. Give me your hands. No, I got. Give me your hands. You're gonna get tased again, dude. Get your hands out, do it now.
Now, on a third deputy's body camera, it is too gruesome to show you, but the deputies tell the paramedics that Barreto was going to jail but needed an ambulance. On that video, deputies asked him why he ran. He tells them he didn't and was asking for the handcuffs to be taken off of him. Barreto was charged with fleeing and eluding and resisting arrest.
We're going to conclude here shortly. It's clear from the video and all body camera evidence that deputies immediately administered first aid to the suspect. Last Monday, we reached out to the state attorneys to schedule a meeting to go over all the evidence in this case. Earlier today, we informed them that our investigation concluded there is probable cause for the following crimes by the following people. First one is our suspect, Mr. Gian Barreto Berga, fleeing and attempting to elude law enforcement, felony. Reckless driving, misdemeanor. 3 wheelies offense, felony. Resisting an officer without violence, misdemeanor. And then we also have, concluding the investigation, we filed charges with the state attorney's office against Deputy Crawford. Culpable negligence, it's a misdemeanor. This isn't a common crime to charge, so I'm going to explain it. Deputy Crawford was aware there was gas in the direct and immediate area. We know this because he says on body cam, kill the pump, gas. After that statement, he picked up the discarded taser that was located in gas and says, "You're about to get tased, dude." Immediately after that statement, with the taser in his hand, the fire ignites. According to the taser log, there was a trigger pull that coincides with the timing. Although I personally believe there was no malice in this decision to do so, because he also received burns and injuries. Under the law, his actions were reckless and held to such a disregard for human life that it rises to the level of probable cause for culpable negligence. This is obviously a tragic situation for everybody. Both Deputy Crawford, Mr. Gian Barreto Berga, they're still recovering from their injuries. My thoughts and prayers are with them, and I wish them both a speedy recovery. Let me tell you, when our detectives looked at this case, they had different detectives looking at this, and with the utmost integrity, they found him culpable. Let me tell you, these are people who know each other. These are people who are raising kids together. These are people who have gone to the police academy together. But at the end of the day, they did their job in the most professional manner they did, because they know it's the right thing to do, and that's how we maintain.
So obviously we see that there's a lot of issues going on with this use of force with the taser incident. Obviously you saw that it was originally stemming from a fleeing and eluding incident, and it looks like they caught up with the motorcyclist guy afterwards or whatever in a gas station parking lot. So the deputy obviously goes to take him down. A group of deputies comes to try to subdue him. The guy's hands are clearly still under his waist. They tase him, no effect. You can hear deputies talk, that, hey, there's some gas on the ground, kill the pumps or whatever. And then you really don't know what happens with the taser. It obviously goes off again and sparks the fire, which, unfortunate for the other deputy that got hurt and the guy that got hurt, the suspect that got hurt himself. But do you think that rose to the level of criminal negligence?
No, which I think is what we need to get back to is the reports where these people were doing wheelies, driving recklessly up and down the crowded roads. And at one point there was a report that somebody had a gun and pointed it by a motorist. Mm-hmm. Okay. Don't know if this guy is the one that got burned up. I don't know if it's, it was him or not, but I do know that anytime somebody said there was a gun, even if they didn't, I assume that somebody did. You have to assume that you are. And if he's running, why is he running? Does he suspend? Does he have a warrant? Does he have drugs? I don't know what happened. All I know is his actions, the suspect's actions, dictated their actions. So I want to start from the beginning. They had a helicopter overhead. This wasn't a random, they just pulled over the next guy on the motorcycle and threw him down. They followed this guy.
This was a prolonged event.
Yeah, they followed this guy to a gas station and knew it was him. So when they went to take him down, at some point, the bike fell over. They go on top, they pig pile him, they start trying to wrestle him. His arms aren't coming out. Is he reaching for a gun? I don't know. Is he not reaching for a gun? I don't know. But all I know is he's not complying. He didn't comply when they asked him to pull it over. He didn't comply when he was fucking fleeing and eluding, running red lights, blowing through intersections. Mm-hmm. His lack of compliance was very evident. Do I think he needed to be burned up like a crispy critter? Not at all. However, do I think that was the intent? Not even a little bit. So what I want to talk about is sympathetic reflex. Mm-hmm. Sympathetic reflex. So for those of you guys who don't know out there, what that is if you do something. So if I try to bend this finger, see how this one does it on its own? I can't not do that. It's doing it intentionally. So whenever you're under high stress, sympathetic reflexes increase significantly. So that's why for law enforcement specifically, you don't carry your firearm the same draw, straight draw.
You shouldn't anyways.
No, you shouldn't. You would do what they call as a cross draw across your body. It's a much more abnormal movement. It's something that's overt, something that should trigger you mentally that you're grabbing a taser. And the reason that is you want to make sure you're doing that overt action. Now, jumping back on the sympathetic reflex, what I'm getting at is if you are on the shooting range and somebody shoots beside you and you have your finger on the trigger, you may accidentally shoot unintentionally. We're charging somebody with a crime. This guy's going to lose his job. By the way, he's the one that's burnt. He's the one that's in the hospital. You know that, right? He's the one that's burnt.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this guy's going to lose his job. They're charging him with a crime of culpable negligence based off the fact that I didn't see where the taser was. I didn't see him holding against a suspect's body. When I seen was the guy picked up the taser and a fraction of a second later, it goes off. So was he pointing the taser at the guy? Didn't look like it to me. Did he have the taser in contact with him for a drive stun? Didn't look like it to me. So we have somebody being charged with a crime by doing his lawful duties. And his sheriff what the fuck is wrong with him? Is it me or does he just deflect everything?
Well, that's kind of the problem. And to touch on your sympathetic reaction, it's not just one hand. Whatever you, especially in high stress, your fine motor skills go away tremendously.
It becomes gross. They become gross motor skills.
Gross motor skills. And whatever one hand does, the other one does. So very, especially in those really elevated incidents like these, he could have been grabbing the guy or try to grab him with his left hand and his taser went off. But they said it was covered in gas. Was it a mistake? Was it a bonehead thing to even have a taser out maybe at the gas pumps? Sure. Was it criminal? Not a fucking chance.
Well, not only that, we have somebody who is under extreme stress. Right. Extreme stress. It was it was a pursuit. I don't know if they pursued him. The guy fled. Whatever. Right. Whatever you want to call it. And now they're wrestling with a guy on the ground after a report of being gunned. He's not showing their hands. Somebody had fired that taser originally, had dropped it, and he picked it up. And we're saying, here's a culpable negligence. Here you go. I'll read it from your statute. Florida State Statute 780-405. Whoever, through culpable negligence, exposes another to personal injury commits a misdemeanor of the second degree.
You know what that says to me?
Nothing.
If I run a red light and I hit somebody and I hurt them, it's culpable negligence.
So are we suing deputies now for at-fault crashes?
I wouldn't put it past this.
Well,
guy.
Sheriff, if you want to let us know, we'd like to know if you're going to start filing charges on your own deputies who are at fault during crashes, because when you're at fault, it's something you did through your own negligence.
Right.
So we're just curious if you want to go ahead and answer that for us. It's at heroedoutofficial@gmail.com or reach out on Facebook. But either way, we would like to know how you're going to handle this, because gross negligence, I didn't see gross in here. Did you?
No, I didn't. It's culpable.
Just saying you did something and somebody else was injured. Now it's your fucking fault. You're going to be criminally charged.
Yeah, and it's Okay. FDLE is investigating the shooting, and that's great. I think an outside entity needs to investigate for criminal charges, but that didn't happen here.
No, that goes back to the deflecting thing. If you watch his news conference, it drives me nuts. You either put a link in there or we'll drop the video in at some point in this cast here. He does a lot of, well, it wasn't me.
Right. These guys who investigated know him personally.
Yeah, my detectives came to this conclusion. My detectives did.
Right. Passing the buck, man. What a coward.
Yeah, that's my fucking problem with this guy.
What a coward.
What are we doing here? Is this a terrible decision? Yes. Did people get hurt? Yes. We have somebody who's being criminally charged for doing his job. It seems like we're selectively picking what we want to do because it seems like they're wanting to pander to people.
Here's the biggest deflection that he had. They asked him about the charges on everybody, and he's like, well, we're not charging anybody. We're not charging the suspect. We're not charging the deputy. We're going to let the state decide. We've pawned it off on the state. What? Like, take ownership, man.
Yeah, look, if you did it, that goes back to what I'm talking about, being a leader and a supervisor. This is what I did. This is why I did it. Mm-hmm. I will own my mistakes, and I will own my decisions.
Ever hears this, hey, man, we know a couple attorneys that would represent you probably for free because of how, disheartening this is and how out of line it is.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
So reach out, man.
Yeah, the fact that we are treating our own personnel this way, and I'm not saying law enforcement shouldn't be held accountable for their actions. Sure. Okay. So I read another story out of Osceola County. A deputy was in the hospital with somebody for whatever. I don't know if it was a Baker Act, taking a mental health thing, or if he was under
I saw this
criminal arrest. So anyways, at some point there is an argument between him and the guy who was under arrest. Mm-hmm. Somebody pushes or hits somebody, and the deputy punches him a couple times. Mm-hmm. Boom, dude's fired.
Right.
Fired. Kyle, when I was a cop, if you put your hands on me and it wasn't like shaking my hand or something, mm-hmm. I'm going to do everything I can to knock you on your fucking ass instantly. Like there's going to be such
Yeah, my object is to not sit here and wrestle with you and fight with you. My object is to make it stop.
Yeah, win.
Yeah, you don't have the opportunity to lose because that could be losing your life.
Yeah.
Even a guy in a hospital, a sharps container is right there,
It just blows my mind that's where we are with this. And I understand, okay, you can't punch the handcuff guy, whatever, sure. But there are circumstances where people, even handcuffed, need to be dealt with accordingly. I'm just losing my mind reading the stuff that's going on with this guy. And it goes back to somebody who was never a manager, who is probably, I'm going to guess, I haven't looked, whenever he got elected, he probably wiped out all the administration. He brought in people that he liked and now has surrounded himself in an echo chamber, allowing him to make these fucking bad decisions. Like, be a fucking leader, dude. Be a leader. Don't be a fucking puppet. Don't be a mouthpiece. And, the more I dig into it, not getting into politics because, Sammy Kershaw, I can't talk about politics, religion, or her, but, bro, what are we doing here? Like 11 days to release the video for the Target shooting. And then you got this and you're going to hands off like, well, we decided to file charges, but then you didn't. You gave him the state attorney. Like, own up to your fucking decisions, man. Be a leader.
Does it look good for the deputy? Nope. Like I said, did he violate a policy? Yeah, probably did. Did he violate state statute? I don't think so. And to say that you're charging this guy now, between these two incidents, and just for everybody's awareness, these two incidents happened within weeks. 2 months of each other.
Yeah, within a week or two of each other.
Right. So, in this incident actually happened, I think, in February.
Yeah, well, yes.
And it's taken this long now. Here we are in May of 2022, 3 months to come out with this just to say, we want to make it go away.
Kyle, if you sat on a misdemeanor case for 3 months, what does that tell you?
Oh, exactly.
It tells you there was nothing there to begin with. Somebody crawled in his fucking ass, whether it be Black Lives Matter or, these people are rattling on the TV saying he needs to be for the Target shooting. He's like, oh, well, just to show we're doing right by the Target thing, will FDLE look at it? And we're going to go ahead and just charge this guy. He's he's disposable.
Yeah, he's literally a victim of politics.
100%. 100% looks like it to me.
Like, could they have fired him, for the taser use thing? Yep, that would have been totally justified to do that. But to sit here and do this, man, just like, you got to be kidding me.
I mean, you're a taser instructor or right? So not an instructor, but here's what I can tell you. Can't taser somebody stand up on a ledge, they might fall. Right? Taser somebody running, they're going to fall and smack their head. It's not a perfect environment. Now, obviously, they tell you don't taser around gasoline. Was it a terrible decision? Yes, you should have known better, right? But they also teach you that your rounds, your pistol rounds go 1,400 feet a second. Your rifle rounds are 3,000 plus feet a second. Yet agencies will dump hundreds of rounds during a shooting.
Those holes getting poked.
Is there any culpable negligence there?
Not unless something bad happens.
That's what I mean.
By statute, it says that there is, but.
And you know what? You know who we normally charge with that? The suspect that required us to use that deadly force.
Yeah, of course.
Because it was their actions.
That guy, yeah, he's responsible for the deputy's injuries.
Now, hey, listen, if this deputy went up to the Wawa, got him a sub, and was pumping gas, and he's like, hey, fuck that guy. Pow! And just shoots him with a taser randomly, and the guy catches fire. All right. Yeah, I'm cool. But in this fucking instance, this guy's doing his job, man. Like, what the fuck? You have no support from the upper administration, and it's fucking going to kill your morale. It's going to kill your retention, and it's going to kill your fucking hiring, because people are going to see that and be like, fuck that.
I'm going to take out my magic 8-ball right now and come to the conclusion that department's going to be hurting from these two things for a long time internally.
Hey, listen, I like subliminal cues, and I like picking up on the unwritten. I don't know if you noticed, but their comment section was shut off for a lot of their posts recently.
Yeah, for all their social media. I'm like, I don't think that that's constitutional. I think there's a lot of people who've been getting sued for doing that shit or removing comments because it's all public record stuff, you know, which is another interesting thing. And I think that just goes back to show from square one that the gross incompetence of that.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the people that he surrounded himself with. You got to have better bro, listen.
Well, it starts with you, first of all. If you're not good, you get better.
Exactly.
You suck.
Yeah, if you fucking suck that bad, you need to get better. You need to find out how to get better. And if the people around you aren't doing it, fucking get rid of them. But right now, he has surrounded himself with some people that are making him do terrible decisions. His legal counsel is not leading him down the good road. His C-suite personnel that help him run that agency, his PIO, anybody that has influence with this guy that's allowing him to do these things and deflect the way he is, if that's his messaging, bro, it's like fucking Biden, man. Whoever runs a teleprompter runs this fucking guy. Like, he has the lack of ability to take ownership and lead. I'm talking about grab the fucking department by the balls and drag them where they need to go is not there. And it's fucking scary.
Well, I mean, we kind of probably should have figured that was going to happen. I mean, he was endorsed by Bernie Sanders. So
well, there is that.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of political theater, you know, and pandering going on here. It's just, to what expense is that going to bring long term? That just doesn't look good, man.
No, it doesn't. So we're not going to beat this guy's balls in any fucking harder, but I can tell you right now, Osceola County, you guys might better look at your sheriff currently and maybe getting his ass a little bit about what he can do better in controlling the messaging and understanding the ramifications of his actions. Because if you really want to start putting a stranglehold on your resources because you can't retain or train or hire people fast enough, it's going to start with the fucking top. The buck needs to stop there, and it needs to fucking be addressed quick.
Yep. And, you know, like we showed before, Wayne Ivey in Brevard County, he is still hiring, and he's going to let cops be cops over there. I guarantee you there would have been two different outcomes with both of these things with him or any type of leader with him, Grady Judd.
Yeah, see, if they go slide over to Polk, the next one over. You know,
right.
But either way, man, this guy's got to get better. You got to get better, man. If you can't get better, fucking hang it up.
Right.
Hang it up, because you're going to put some people at risk. People are going to be hesitant to act, and they're going to be fucking at risk, and it's going to be because of you.
Yeah. Yeah, not only just, you know, internally with your own people, but the citizens. Like, you know, there could be a time where now a deputy goes to slow or pause his reaction, and it could end up in the death of somebody else. And that, I mean, we can start pointing fingers and stuff like that, but like, that's not something that happened overnight. This is a bred type of culture, you know.
Here you go. Before we close this out, I want to jump back on the culpable. Whoever, through culpable negligence, exposes another to personal injury commits a misdemeanor. So if you're in the Osceola Sheriff's and you're on a hostage call or a barricaded suspect, and it ends up being a murder-suicide, are you going to charge everybody on scene for not taking immediate action?
Right.
Where do we draw this line at?
Yeah, it's ambiguous for a reason. It's just like most, you know, state statutes. Or not even state statutes, policies, conduct on or off duty. Well, that's a bullshit fucking charge.
Yeah.
Same thing with this, man. It's despicable. That's the type of shit that just needs to go away.
No, it does. And unfortunately, till you get better leadership, what you're going to have. So Sheriff Marco Lopez, do me a favor. Go ahead and take a good look in the mirror. I want you to call up this deputy from the gas station. I want you to apologize. And do me a favor, reach out to us at our Facebook page. We'll send him a free t-shirt because I'm sure he's going to be heroed out after dealing with your bullshit. So for me and Kyle here at the Heroed Out Podcast, thank you guys for listening in. We'll see y'all next time.
As always, stay safe.
Thanks for listening to the Heroed Out Podcast. For the latest news and episodes, visit us at heroedout.com or on social media. Stay safe out there, heroes.